the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 1935. That is what politicises the Leauge of Coloured Peoples. No longer can the League merely talk in terms of amelioration of people's condition. Here is a real issue where black people are being machine-gunned and gassed and bombed by a European power, which is a member of the League of Nations, attacking another member of the League of Nations. And there are protest meetings. It's a real issue. They go into campaign mode to try and deal with this. It's an enormous problem because, after all, Ethiopia is defeated and the Western powers are eager to appease fascist Italy. But what it does do is to give an added Pan-African dimension to the work of the League.
March, march, march to victory. March, march, march to victory. We fight land, sea and...
This new dimension became increasingly important with the rise of fascism. With war looming, Britain was relying on its subjects in the empire. But if you are a black recruit, you are limited to serving in the non-commissioned ranks. You are no more than an unskilled labourer, a second-class citizen in the armed service.
All West Indians will do their share.
Moody took up their cause.
He sought initially an assurance from the Secretary of State that the British government was opposed to discrimination on race or colour lines anywhere in the empire, which MacDonald, the Secretary of State, was willing to give him until he's warned by somebody in the Colonial Office that you can't do this because the empire includes South Africa and that's obviously going too far. So he backs out and puts Moody off and never gets around to meeting him again.
Fight land, sea and in the air, on to victory.
Then you have these exceptions made in the army. The dental corps first, then Moody's son is sent for officer training. These are only to be for the duration of the war. And after the war, they are to revert to the previous policy.
The Colonial Office response, as is the Home Office and the legal offices of the government, is how do you actually bring in this kind of legislation? How do you say to people who own restaurants or run hotels, you mustn't discriminate against black people?
Interestingly, in the RAF, despite on paper having the colour bar, they are in fact giving commissions on a non-restrictive basis.
By 1941, a redrafting of the regulation was being considered at the Home Office. But even then, the Colonial Office was unwilling to let the change be directly attributed to Harold Moody, as this memo shows.
But I think what Moody does is, by his gradual pressure, and it's the pressure of the League, is to gradually change the attitude of government and to make them aware that there is a question that has to be dealt with. The fact that they are dealt with much later perhaps owes something to Moody's pressure and his vision of the kind of multiracial Britain that he wanted.
With the war over and many successes behind him,